We are going to take already from the book of Genesis, chapter 11, from verse 1 to 11. Genesis chapter 11, from verse 1 to 9. At one time, the whole world spoke a single language and used the same words. As the people migrated eastward, they found a plain in the land of Babylonian and settled there. They began to talk about construction sub projects. Come, they said, let's make great piles of burnt brick and collect natural asphalt, asphalt to use as mortar. Let's build a great city with a tower that reaches to the skies, a monument to our greatness. This will bring us together and keep us from scattering over the world. But the Lord but the Lord came down to see the city and the tower the people were building. Look, he said, if they can accomplish this when they have just begun to take advantage of their common language and political unity, just think of what they will do later. Nothing will be impossible for them. Come, let's go down and give them different languages. Then they won't be able to understand each other. In that way, the Lord scattered them all over the earth, and that ended the building of the city. That is why the city was called Babel, because it was there that the Lord confused the people by giving them many languages, though thou scattering them across the earth. This is so interesting. I know many people may begin to reason this topic that I'm going to bring now. You may reason in different way, and except you ask the direction of the Holy Spirit. But I want you to understand why God limited our abilities. Why God limited the ability of men. In this study, when you study this scripture carefully, you will come to understand that during that time where we spoke one language, where we had the same language, there was nothing like you speak Spanish, you speak a German, you speak Italiano, you speak a Portuguese, or you speak a Latin, you speak African, you speak Swahili, you speak Yoruba, you speak whatever language you may think about. During that time, we are speaking one language, not until God saw that we were so united, we were so close to ourselves. There was a political unity, there was an understanding, there was a connection that exists between the humans that were existing, and the love was there, and they sit down and they think together. They assemble themselves. They reason together with themselves. They say, what can we do? Because in the plan, I come to understand in the beginning, we do not have intention of creating different countries. We never have intention where we wanted to separate from each other. We wanted to remain as family. But God saw that if He permit us to remain as family without causing a confusion. What was the confusion? The only way God can disconnect us from us being one family, being one home, being one city, being one country, it was by separating us and put the spirit of different languages in us. And this is where Latin come to be, Portuguese come to be, African come to be, Swahili come to be, Yoruba and the Igbos and whatever and the Bagis come to be. And this is where the English take over, and this is where the Scottish take over, this is where the Dutch take over, this is where the Romans take over, because he see that we are so connected. But do you guess what? Do you know what? I discover that God do it because he knew if he permitted them to build this tower in the Babel, there couldn't have been a respect. Nobody would have respect God anymore. I and you will not be preaching the gospel today. We will not believe he existed. After all, how can you be a God? After all, you're on the sky. We build a house that touches the sky. So we are the same with you. Yeah, maybe peradventure, if there was any reason or an opportunity for them to believe in God, maybe they can just say, you are an ordinary king, just like David was, just like Solomon was, just like other people, or Moses and other priests were. Maybe they would have just give him that little honor, but they couldn't have accepted him as God. I believe that this is one of the factors that made God to disconnect us from our unities. This is why God disconnect us. See, number one, God limited the ability of men through the confusion he sent down upon the earth. He sent down limitation upon us and the ability upon us because he is our God. This is the reason he limited our ability. He limited our ability because he wanted us to know that he is God. This is why he could not permit them to build the Tower of Babel. The Tower of Babel could not be accomplished, because if that Tower of Babel was to be accomplished, there wouldn't have been a respect for God anymore. And this is why God bring confusion on the earth. Number two, humans were connected together until God brings down confusion. We were connected as family. We were united as siblings, brothers and sisters, uncles and brothers. There was no difference about language barrier. The language barrier was never there. Not until Genesis chapter 11 from verse 1 to 11 come to be. And this is why God have to separate us to give us different languages. And I want to show you something. If you are in your workplace, in your office, I want you to understand that in your office, that this tribalism you are seeing in your office is nothing to do with your language. It has nothing to do with your family. It was there. That was already there. It was already there, my brother. This family, the tribalism you are seeing in your office, the tribalism you are seeing in your place of work, in your home, in the community you stay. It was God that caused it. Yeah. This is why sometimes when you are planning something, nobody understands your language. Only you understand that language that God put into you. Only I can understand my language. Only my mother do understand my language. No one else understand my language. Because he separate us from understanding each other for a purpose. It was a great purpose that made God to separate us and to to disqualify us by speaking one language, to know how we are still going to reunite, on how we are still going to contact ourselves and still serve Him in truth and in spirit. Number three, God saw that if He do not use confusion on us, there will be a great problems and doubt about Him being the God of the universe. And that is just it. Believe it or not, that is just it. This is one of the primary reasons he rejected us or he afflicted the spirit of different languages in us. Yes, we would have been doubting his ability as God. After all, maybe after building the Babel and he touches the sky, the next thing is to burst the sky or to burst the heavens. At the end, maybe from there, they create those people who created it, built the tower. At the end, maybe they could have made themselves like God. They would have been seeing themselves as God. And that is it. And this is the reason God. Do you know that after doing this, God have to limited more ability in humans? Because he create us and never believe, or he never think we are going to do this. These people we are going to do such thing. People were people wanted, they want to know where he is. So they can be knocking his door all the time and say, hey, come down here. There is a problem here, come here. And this is why he do so. That's what I think. God is awesome. It's full of mystery. The things of God is full of mysteries. You may not understand what I'm saying, but I understand what I am saying. And I know what I'm telling you. This is the reason humans cannot unite again. There will always be a tribalism anywhere you go. There will always be a tribalism. And this is why God created confusion. And this is why we are having political problems today. Tribalism in politics, tribalism in the presidential house, tribalism in Senate, tribalism in House of Assemblies, tribalism everywhere, tribalism in sport, tribalism in movie industry, tribalism in banking sector, tribalism in business sector, tribalism in education sector, tribalism in agricultural sector, tribalism everywhere. In the environment you stay, tribalism is because it is God that put that spirit in us. And this is why I want you to stop seeing it in the negative way. There is reason you always see tribalism. There is reason you always see this tribalism anywhere you go. It is God that bestowed that spirit inside of us. And this is why we can never, and the earth can never unite again. The earth cannot be one again. Because of that little confusion he rendered into humanity. Now it limits many sources of ability. And this is why if you bring advice, it is not everybody that will accept the advice. Few will accept you. Few will not work with it. Some you bring, or some people bring. Some will accept the advice. Some will not accept because of why? Confusion. You know why? Different languages. We are no longer one. We are no longer unit. We are now separate. There is a division. And this is why even in the house of God, in the church today, tribalism is ruling the church because the confusion God rendered upon humanity. And this is the reason you can see today politics in the church. Tribalism ruling all sector, women fellowship, men's fellowship, new life for all, youth fellowship, and all sector, pastoral department, tribalism ruling. I am not from this part. You are not Spaniard. You are not Portuguese. You are not African. You are not black. You are not white. You are doing this because it is written. It is God that caused this confusion. We can never be united anymore. But except you sit down to think about it, you have to reason. Use yourself wisely. Use your head. I'm speaking to pastors. I'm speaking to prophets, apostles, teachers, evangelists, advisors, deacons, teachers, president, governors, councillors, chairmen, senators, house of assemblies. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you people to understand why we have division. And this is why we can never be the same again. Our life have changed the moment God sent that confusion on earth. We never remain the same again. Do you know that? This is the time you have to understand what is happening to you where you are walking, what is happening to you where you are. It is the Tower of Babel that is walking. The Tower of Babel is existing. The Tower of Babel is walking in nations, in countries, in communities, in your state, in your country, in your house, in your region that you are. Babel is working. It's working. I just hope you understand what I am saying. God bless you.